I'm back.
So, you've made it to my final video on Product, a channel responsible for some of the most uncanny animations on YouTube. I'm Curmudgeon, and today I'll be explaining 6 more videos from Product's catalog of horrors, giving my turtle a haircut, Creepy Man Boy, Purple Girl, Wasp Funeral, Triple Exclamation Point, and Father. I'll analyze each of them as we go, before finally explaining the connections between every film and every fever dream Product has ever created, from Mother to Dirty Donna, from Bald Boy to Purple Girl, and so much more beyond that. This video will not make any sense if you haven't seen my first 2 videos analyzing Product's channel, so check those out with the link in the description before continuing. I hope you like it weird, because today we've got 5 fever dreams in a row, starting with what I consider the strangest video on Product's channel. This video, like all of Product's work, is incredibly strange on the surface, but it hides a meaning that is uncomfortably real. Triple Exclamation takes place over the course of 3 days. It's set in a picturesque valley that seems vaguely familiar. The valley is dotted with red roses, and nestled amongst its trees is a cozy little house. Inside, a young girl is trying to sleep, but what happened to her face? Her head is shaved, her eyes are unfocused, and her mouth is a mess of bleeding gums and chipped, cracked teeth. Who did this to her? The girl wakes up and glances around her room. It's sparsely furnished. Aside from the bed, there's nothing else to make the place livable. In the corner of the room, barely visible unless you're watching in total darkness, is a tall, pale man. Even brightening the image, it's almost impossible to make out his features, and immediately I have questions. Who is he, and why is he watching from the shadows? Is he supposed to be here? Does the girl see him? Does she know that he wants to tear her, that she isn't alone? If she can see him, she isn't too concerned about him, and she leaves the house with no evidence of distress. The bloody girl makes her way out the door and into the valley, and as she begins to walk through the woods, we can see another cabin in the distance. The bloody girl picks a rose at her feet and breathes deeply of its aroma. She smells it, desperately, almost hungrily, and as soon as she does, the world takes on a new depth of color. It's strange. Before, I never even noticed how washed out and faded the world looked, like a pale fog had swallowed the valley and hidden the beauty beneath. The rose revealed things as they should always have been, and now, being fully aware of the beauty of her surroundings, the bloody girl continues her walk into the woods. The next day, the girl wakes beneath a gray sky. The pale fog has returned, having sucked even more color from the landscape. It's so dreary. How do people face such a cold, joyless valley unassisted? How can anyone live like this? The bloody girl can barely drag herself out of bed before she's overwhelmed by the need for another rose. She rushes out the door, rips up a rose by the roots, and gorges herself on its fragrance. The rose's essence engulfs her. Pure olfactory bliss fills her sinuses, rushes across her palate, flows into her blood. It's unbearably intense, and it's not enough. The fog is so thick today that even the rose can't make it go away. It just makes it easier to ignore. But the fog is growing thicker, and the roses are running out. The bloody girl looks across the forest, beyond the stream that splits the valley in two, and sees a red-headed girl tending to a small cluster of roses. Instead of tearing up the roses and smelling them, the redhead simply waters them, nourishes them, and leaves them where they are. She notices the bloody girl watching her and turns to greet her from across the water. When she does, you can see that she's also got quite the set of chompers on her. Whereas the bloody girl's teeth were broken, the redhead's appear to be naturally crooked. Thus, we may confidently deduce that this film is set in England. The bloody girl immediately runs away from the redhead, though I'm not sure why. She slams the door to her house and clutches her rose, breathing in as much of it as she can, eager to regain everything she felt the day before. Outside her home, she hears footsteps, and soon, the redhead appears at her window. The other girl calls out, watching the bloody girl cower alone in her home, and then the film cuts to the following morning. As night turns once again to day, a hidden frame can be seen that gives us a lot of insight into Product's channel. From top to bottom, each line corresponds to a recent or future upload from Product. The first 4 correlate to Purple Girl, Father, Wasp Funeral, and triple exclamation. The last 5 foreshadow upcoming video titles. As of yet, we don't know what any of them are about, but it's apparent that Product has a lot in store for the near future, and it's already promising to be quite weird. On the dawn of the 3rd day, the bloody girl isn't even able to roll out of bed without first taking a hit from the rose to which she clung through the night. Now, however, it's lost much of its potency. If the bloody girl wants to feel alive again, she'll need to find another rose with a stronger scent, which leads her again into the all-consuming fog. The world has gone nearly white amidst the oppressive fog. The bloody girl hobbles into the mist in search of hope and finds only horror. All the roses have been trampled, or worse, used by someone else. Could the redhead have realized the joy the roses offered? That other girl might, at that very moment, be enjoying stolen, saturated splendor. It was sickening. Then, the faintest hint of hope. A cluster of crimson petals peeking through the fog, promising release. The last rose. The bloody girl marches unsteadily to the rose, but beyond it, another figure emerges. As he shambles into view, he sheds all but the barest hint of humanity. He crawls toward the bloody girl on all 4s, his skin scratched and scarred all over. His large, distant eyes peer past the rose. He has no interest in the flower. The tall, pale man creeps from the mist like fog taking form. This thing needs no relief from the haze which birthed it. The bloody girl manages to make it back inside her home, but she does so empty-handed and badly injured. It seems fairly certain that the pale man is the one who originally hurt the bloody girl and messed up her face. This whole time, the caution she showed outside her home has been the result of some past experience with him. She sobs alone and soothes her wounds before finally making a decision. Even total darkness is better than watching the valley fade into an endless white void. She goes to draw her curtains. However, she notices the rose through the window, tempting and tormenting her. It's so close. But is it worth risking another encounter with the pale man? She's forced to ask the horrible question. Can she live without the rose? The pain still fresh on the bloody girl's face, she steels herself, makes her choice, and draws the curtain shut. Then it's all darkness and waiting and remembering. She knew that staying inside until the fog passed was better, safer, smarter. But what if it never passed? The girl returns to the curtain. She promised herself she wouldn't go outside. She just wanted to know that it was there, in case she absolutely needed it. Surely, just a peek at the rose couldn't hurt. But it did hurt. It was still there, but the urge to take the rose was stronger than ever. The girl pulled the curtain shut and paced around her room, watching her old rose wither. Would the pale man still be lurking around? Was his patience unlimited? Before the day was up, every question had answered itself. Life without roses is no life at all. Even if the pale man was waiting, there was nothing he could do to make her more dead than she already was. Surely, the redhead figured it out too. No one really lives happily without something to make the gray go away. That's why, when the bloody girl finally goes to check on the rose before darting outside after it, she finds that the redhead has beaten her to it. The girl stands over the flower, watering it and caring for it as though the world isn't currently being erased in the fog. Is she stupid? Doesn't she know that the pale man is out there hunting her? The bloody girl shuts the curtains only for a moment, and when she opens them again, rose and redhead alike have vanished. With the last rose taken from her, the bloody girl summons the strength to brave the fog one last time. She has to find the rose before the redhead uses it all up herself. She opens the door wide and steps outside. There's no time to consider the pale man lurking in the mist. Only, he never shows himself. The bloody girl stumbles blindly through the valley. The fog is far too dense to see through now. She wanders so far into the valley that her home isn't even visible in the distance. Could she even find her way back? What if she's lost out here, forever, with no rose and no curtains to draw tight? She finds the redhead waiting for her. She hasn't used the rose. She's been keeping it safe. This whole time, she's never tended the roses for herself. It's always been for the bloody girl. As she reaches out a hand to offer the final rose, the bloody girl is so overcome with hope and hunger that she completely forgets. She left the door of her home standing wide open. The monster having disappeared, the girl steps back outside into the lush, green valley, the fog having cleared entirely. The roses have all regrown, and the world is just as it should be. It's alive, but the bloody girl feels so detached from the forest, from her home, from life. As her feet leave the ground, a question arises. Did the roses hold power over the fog and its pale man, or did they hold power over the girl? As strange as this video is, I think it's actually easier to understand than most of Product's work. This video is an allegory for drug addiction. The bloody girl represents someone who is overwhelmed by the demands of ordinary life. She's defeated by two truths. First, that waking up and living each day is a grueling battle. Second, that the spoils of victory are so unexpectedly mundane. Going to work, navigating social struggles, and tending to an ever-weakening body. And for what? The right to wake up and fight the same battles tomorrow? Sometimes, the juice just ain't worth the squeeze. But what if that juice tasted just a little sweeter? For the bloody girl, that's exactly what the roses did. They gave the world more color, made life more worth living. That's why many turn to substance abuse in our world. It's easier to consume some chemical that gives otherwise unattainable levels of artificial ecstasy than to spend years unsatisfied, toiling to build a better life for yourself. Even if you put in the effort, wholesome endeavors can't match the rush of hacking your brain's pleasure centers. That's why drugs even devastate those whose lives meet every earthly desire. The problem is that you can only hack your brain so much before it starts to hack you. Before it decides that it likes what you've given it and that it wants more. When returns diminish, many find themselves at the whims of the drug. It's no longer a tool to help face the fog. It's a broken elevator whose highest reach is a few floors beneath ground level. You keep taking it, not to feel high, but just to feel human. The roses, specifically, represent heroin, evidenced in part by the ending overdose scene, where we can see a rose suspiciously placed on the bloody girl's arm where a needle would be. This is further evidenced by the pale man, when he appears and disappears, and the particular way that he attacks the bloody girl. I believe that the pale man represents the girl's withdrawals, emerging only when the girl fails to find a fix. The pale man appears in one of the earliest shots of the film, when the mist is barely beginning to settle into the valley. He waits in the shadows, watching without attacking, almost as if he isn't entirely real. But he hasn't always been that way. Even then, the girl's face was scratched and bloody. She'd already been attacked by the fated man of the fog at least once. However, we've seen that he only attacks when the fog hangs heavy in the air. So long as the girl keeps huffing her horticulture, he can't get to her. Then, at the end of the film, when the pale man has snuck into the bloody girl's room, she dispels him and the fog together by breathing as deeply of the rose's aroma as she can. The pale man is an extension of the fog, because while even before the roses, life might have been occasionally gray, ordinary life was never so violent. The roses unlocked something new in the color of life, but also in the dullness of death. They pushed the highs higher and the lows lower. While I believe the pale man is symbolic, his attacks are very real and very painful. However, he can't attack with his own hands. He instead turns the bloody girl's hands upon herself. One of the most common symptoms of heroin use and heroin withdrawal is itching, intense and irresistible. Some say it's a sensation like bugs crawling through their skin. And hey, if that's not a feeling that'd make you claw your own face off, I don't know what is. Many scratch themselves to the point of self-mutilation, and I think that's exactly what we see from the bloody girl. Although we see the pale man clawing at her face, it's her own hands undertaking the grisly work. The final piece of the puzzle is the redhead, the girl who tends the garden, picking the flowers and offering them to the bloody girl, but never using them herself. I believe that this girl represents a dealer, someone who gets others hooked, but who never dips their own hand into the supply. While she's far less outwardly monstrous than the pale man, she's the true evil behind this story. The kindness she demonstrates at the climax of the film, offering the final rose to the bloody girl, is only false mercy. She hands over the rose, presenting death and utter destruction as the only true path to a happy life. It's a devastatingly real cruelty to communicate through such an unreal video, but then that's kind of the standard for this channel. This video, so far as I can tell, ties into the greater body of Product's work less than the other films we'll be examining today. However, as we go into the next videos, you'll continue to see this same theme play out. The same truth Product has shown us over and over again. The darkest horror hides in the heart of humanity. Giving my turtle a haircut opens with everyone's favorite child with an intact cranium, Celescus, amidst an infinite white void. In some ways, this void reminds me of the dreamscape from Cold Grandma. There's no grass, but it's got that same spacey dreamcore kind of thing going on. Besides Celescus, the void is only populated with a bunch of chairs, a school bus, and the wretched horde.
Tell them to subscribe to Product.
What a classic wretched horde thing to say. Once Celescus finishes shilling for the channel, she introduces us to her pet turtle, Ron. What a cute little guy he is. After a couple of fun facts, Celescus does this.
It would take 12 million mosquitoes at the same time to drain a human's body of blood. I'm sick of your fun facts, Ron.
So, yeah, Celescus just cuts Ron's head off with a pair of scissors, then emotes on him. It's very Hereditary, the scissors part, not the dancing part. Was that supposed to be the haircut? I think you may have taken a bit too much off the top, Celescus.
We gotta go bald.
We cut to Celescus and Ron riding in the school bus, and apparently now they're on their way to get haircuts. Also, Ron isn't dead somehow. His severed head's still sitting there, making noises in response to Celescus. There's also one more familiar passenger on this bus.
What?
That's right, Bald Boy is here too, but he's different. When we saw him in Bathwater for Sale, he was a normal kid who's just kind of going through it. Here, he's like, yeah. Celescus tells Ron not to worry about Bald Boy. He just wants to go home to restrict the airflow of a farm animal. Bald Boy says he's scared to get his hair cut, and Celescus tells him that he doesn't deserve any fashigihu, which might be a sort of food, considering the captions say snacks instead. Then, she tells him to sit like a grown-up since they're almost at the haircut place. Finally, she gives him a warning about a certain creepy man boy who might be after Bald Boy and... hold on. Why is Bald Boy getting a haircut? He has less hair than the turtle. What's there to cut? When they arrive, Celescus and Bald Boy emerge into an expansive field, leaving Ron behind on the bus. Poor Ron. This field is a lot closer to the dreamscape we saw in Cold Grandma, but Grandma and her furniture are nowhere to be seen. Instead, there's just this weird mannequin lady and a pile of mattresses. As it turns out, this is the barber that Celescus came to see. She also really reminds me of the pale woman from Bathwater for Sale. Off to the side, Bald Boy notices a shirtless green man dancing beside a rundown van. Quickly, Celescus says not to approach the man, telling Bald Boy that this stranger is actually the creepy man boy she warned him about, before directing him to take a seat on the mattress in front of the pale woman. Then, she asks him a question.
Don't you wish that you could stay a kid forever?
Yes.
Because sometimes I wish that I could.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. You're going to be an adult soon. You'll have to get a job. You'll have to pay bills. And you'll have to experience pain.
But I don't want to. I'm not ready.
Nobody wants to. But you have to. You have no choice.
Is it going to hurt?
Yes. It is going to hurt. A lot.
Bald Boy finally gets his haircut. Part of what makes this fever dream so strange is that it's over 3 years old, making it the oldest public video on Product's channel. Even so, this video births characters and plot lines that continue to develop even in the most recent uploads, particularly Bathwater for Sale, considering that both episodes feature the same protagonists and similar story beats. Celescus' speech at the end of the video suggests that giving my turtle a haircut is all about the inevitability of aging and death. At the beginning of the video, she looks so tired, like she's been in the void for a long, long time. Bald Boy, however, seems almost like he's completely new to the dreamscape. He relies on Celescus for guidance, heeding her warnings to avoid Creepy Man Boy and taking comfort from her words as he takes a seat to get butchered. Celescus seems to be speaking from experience as she tells Bald Boy that he has no choice but to grow up, and explains that it is going to hurt. It isn't clear why Celescus knows so much more than Bald Boy. Generally, this video confounds me. Like, it's so strange that Celescus breaks the fourth wall and mentions Product at the beginning. That literally never happens again on the channel, barring the Dirty Donna interview, which I don't consider canon. I also have no idea what Ron is supposed to represent, or why there's a tangled mass of half-dressed people filming Celescus. Most of all, however, I'm confused by the similarities between this video and Bathwater for Sale. Both videos feature the same protagonists and have very similar endings, but why? Bald Boy dies the same way in Giving My Turtle a Haircut and in Bathwater for Sale. So which death is canon? With any other series, I might assume the older episode was no longer canon, but with Product, there's good reason to believe the incongruity is intentional. Product's channel features several members-only videos: Belladonna, The Accident, The Night Shift, Grandma's Head, and Stretching. The earliest of these, Belladonna, introduces Celescus for the very first time. However, when Product's vision for Celescus diverged from the character's original appearance, her debut was delisted to avoid confusion. If Giving My Turtle a Haircut caused similar problems, it wouldn't be public either. As confusing as it may be, both of these deaths are equally canon. Now, I don't mean that Bald Boy somehow died and came back to life. Okay, well, I sort of do, but look, it's hard to explain right now. But I'll be able to share more once we finish the final episode of the series, Father. For now, I'll just say this. I believe we do see Bald Boy's death, but not in Bathwater for Sale or Giving My Turtle a Haircut. Instead, we're shown Bald Boy's death in a completely different video, one where you absolutely wouldn't expect to find it. Creepy Man Boy is full of overt callbacks to Product's other films, with the titular character coming straight from the last fever dream. It's also got the most Easter eggs of just about any video we've looked at so far, and I'll try to point out as many of them as possible. The video opens in the void once again, with Celescus introducing us to Creepy Man Boy. She says that, unbelievably, he's never had a date before. Creepy Man Boy is weird, even among the bizarre cast of Product's fever dreams. As you can see, Creepy Man Boy has got the drip. We got layers, we got shorts, and we got the bunny slippers. Icon. Celescus' goal in this video is to help CMB put himself out there by setting him up on a dating site. This particular site, Hollow Hearts, promises to help users find someone to fade away with. Bit of an odd promise to make, but okay. Let's see how Creepy Man Boy intends to attract a lady. First up, they need a picture, which brings us to our first hidden message. The jumbled words, Purple Father, are written around the lens of the camera, a reference to Product's latest film, Father. You'll keep seeing references to Father throughout this video, and I think there's a reason why that film is foreshadowed so much in this video specifically, but I'll come back to that in a moment. As Celescus fills in his profile, we learn that Creepy Man Boy is actually this weirdo's name, and that he doesn't even seem to know how old he is. Oh, and he's also homeless. For another moment here, we see the back of the computer, and there's a hidden message that says, Rimtho, Ciela, Himrat. The first two are anagrams of Mother and Alice, and I think the last is supposed to be Hefrat, an anagram for father. Celescus tells him that he needs to find a house really soon, But that sets Creepy Man Boy off in a major way.
Okay, calm down. Shut up. It's okay. I think I got this. Let me help you.
Celestis tries to get back on task, but her nose starts to bleed profusely, and the entire world starts to glitch out. Creepy Man Boy's gaze becomes fixed on a figure filming him from the distance. A woman in underclothes with a box over her head. Barely visible on the left side of the frame, you can see that there's a cigarette resting on the computer, and on screen are the words, "Get me out of this house." A wide smile splits CMB's face as he stares at the box-headed woman. But to me, he also seems intensely uncomfortable. Celestis grabs his attention and warns him,
Don't look at her.
When he glances back to the camera, the woman, the cigarette, and the text are all gone. Seems like the dating site needs more info on Creepy Man Boy. First question.
Did your parents hit you when you were growing up? I'm gonna put, they still do. I'm still growing up, and I am a full-ass grown adult learning how to grow up. And exclamation mark.
Sounds like Creepy Man Boy's had a rough go at life. But don't let silly things like empathy distract you from what's really important. There's another hidden message in Celestis' answer. Putting together all the oddly capitalized letters, we once again get the word father. Pretty quickly, CMB gets a bite. Unfortunately, the interested party hasn't even been born yet. Embryo plans to be born on June 14th, 2025, but isn't looking to date until 2043. That's a bit too long for Creepy Man Boy to wait. He's looking for love today. Luckily, the site dings again to notify him of another match. This time with a goth woman named Melancholy. Best of all, she's already been born. Can you believe it? Melancholy is only 5 kilometers away, and she's rapidly getting closer. There isn't a second to waste. CMB obviously can't go out wearing the bunny slippers, so Celestis helps put together the perfect outfit for CMB to woo his new goth GF.
Let's get crack-a-lackin'. No. You look like a gay Nosferatu. Ew. Ugh. No. Fucking gross. That's the one.
What is this? Some sort of knockoff I Write Sins Not Tragedies cosplay? Actually, I guess that might do something for a 28-year-old goth lady. So, hysteria at the hoedown over here makes for his date with Melancholy. Honestly, I'm surprised they could get into a restaurant on such short notice, and it's a fairly nice one at that. On the date, they just kind of stare at each other until the waitress comes to take their drink orders. They both want milk? But Melancholy wants the waitress to pour the milk on the table so she can lick it up like a stray cat. As one does. As soon as the waitress is out of earshot, Melancholy leans across the table to tell CMB that she's severely lactose intolerant, but that she'll drink the milk for him because she likes him. In response, Creepy Man Boy asks his date what her favorite color is. Can you guess what it is? I mean, the color purple has popped up over and over in Product's work. The heck, even Melancholy's eyes are purple, and even the waitress's name was Violet. I think it's pretty clear that Melancholy's favorite color is
green.
Oh. Well, that being the case, Creepy Man Boy promises that he will become green for Melancholy, which explains why he's green and giving my turtle a haircut. Melancholy is entirely whelmed. She fully expected this from CMB. According to her, that's what love is all about. Changing yourself in order for the other person to like you. That's pretty messed up, but CMB actually agrees with her.
That is how Mom did it for Pa.
And that is how you will do it for me.
I guess they would be confused about relationships considering how they grew up. It should be noted that throughout the entire date so far, Boxhead has been sitting alone at a table behind Melancholy, watching Creepy Man Boy. He's trying to stay focused on Melancholy, but it's hard for him to follow Celestis' advice not to look at the stalker, especially when she's dressed so strangely. Thankfully, Violet returns with the milk, and his stalker fades into the background of CMB's mind. Violet does exactly as requested, and... Ew. The waitress watches this freak do her thing and lets out a chortle, only for Melancholy to hiss, startling Violet and sending her recoiling. She trips down the stairs and falls through a tray of glasses. The glass shatters, and Violet even gets a few big shards in her eye, but Melancholy ain't bothered. Creepy Man Boy, on the other hand, is deeply distressed, not because his date just permanently maimed that lady, but because he can no longer distract himself from the woman in the corner. Finally, we're able to see that Boxhead is wearing a necklace, but not just any necklace. It's David's necklace, the one he used time and again to mark his territory. It's also the same necklace that we saw on Mother, on Tiffany, on Linda, and also on Stella's friend. It's also... Wait. Just a second ago, when Violet went behind the bar to get drinks for CMB and Melancholy, was that Tiffany? What's going on here? Why are there suddenly so many references?
So, what made you decide to try online dating?
The little girl.
You mean your daughter?
My friend.
You're friends with a little girl? That's really weird.
Alice. What's going on in here? Hey, Daddy's little girl starting to look just like your mother. You're taking care of happy birthday, baby.
David, I don't think the girls want to be filmed right now.
I'm pretty sure that Creepy Man Boy is David, or at least a representation of him. Others have also come to this conclusion, but here's why I believe it. Firstly, the strongest evidence for the theory is this VHS section at the end. I believe the interaction between David, Alice, and Mother is Creepy Man Boy's flashback, and the headless woman's presence dredged up a memory Creepy Man Boy wanted to forget. As for why Creepy Man Boy doesn't look like David, well, this is a fever dream. Some features of the real world, like Violet, Tiffany, and the necklace, bleed through into the dream. Everything we see points back to David in some way, even if some things are obscured behind more symbolic imagery. For example, take a look at what Creepy Man Boy is wearing at the start of the video. Shirt, shorts, and of course, the bunny slippers. One thing that bunnies are most notorious for is rapidly multiplying. Rabbits are fast. They get around from partner to partner, just like a certain unfaithful father. I mean, heck, even in the dream, Creepy Man Boy is trying to find a date, something that David spent his entire adult life doing over and over again. There's also the fact that Creepy Man Boy is homeless, just like David left his home behind when he left with Tiffany at the beginning of Alice. Then there's that word, father. That word is everywhere in this episode, and given the context of Product's most recent film, there's no doubt that father is referring to David. Now, that alone wouldn't lend credibility to the theory. Product is always hiding hints to future uploads like this, but in conjunction with the other evidence, I feel pretty confident in my conclusion that this episode is really about David. So, if Creepy Man Boy represents David, who does the headless woman represent? The necklace would make her one of David's girlfriends. That's probably why he smiles when he looks at her the first time. Another hint as to her identity is the cigarette that appears alongside her. This one detail eliminates a lot of possibilities because of David's love interests, only Mother and Tiffany smoked. However, when Creepy Man Boy looks at the headless woman, there's another emotion under the surface. He's afraid of her, and of all the women that David gave necklaces to, only one gave him a reason to be afraid. His wife, Mother. The ending of Creepy Man Boy is, in my opinion, the most shocking twist in any of Product's films. We knew that David was not a chill dude. He snuck around, cheated on his wife, and basically abandoned his daughter. But David's depravity goes deeper than that. The VHS footage from the end of this episode shows David getting drunk and flirting with his own daughter before the video cuts. But is that as far as it went? To truly know how horrible David was, we have to revisit Alice and Mother one last time. There are several details that, when examined in this new light, reveal even deeper darkness beyond. The earliest suggestion of David's sin comes from Alice, when Mother is showing Tiffany the wedding album. In the album, there's a note that reads, "We've been close since '88. I love you like a kid." Originally, I assumed that this meant something like, "I still love you like I did when we were young." With the context of David treating Alice in such a disgusting way, I can't help but read it like, "I love you as if you were a kid." Gross. Moving forward in the film a bit, look at the scene where Alice convinces Mother to let her play on the playground in the middle of the night. She tells Mother that Dad would let her do it, and now I think that's probably 100% true. After all, he obviously doesn't actually care about Alice. If he let her do something she wanted, even if it was unsafe, he could use that to manipulate her later on. Sadly, while I think her dad made her uncomfortable, I don't think Alice ever had a chance to realize just how devilishly she had been treated by her father. She never got a chance to learn that the horrible things being done to her were unnatural and evil. She never got to grow beyond it. Never got to break the cycle. At the slumber party, Mother uses sleeping pills to knock out Phoebe. The binary on the bottle suggests that the pills are David's, which implies a few things. Firstly, I think it's likely that David did have trouble sleeping. He was living a very complicated life, and he had done plenty of awful things to rightly keep him up at night. Unfortunately, I doubt the pills were only being used for him. I think there's a chance that, just as Mother used the pills on Phoebe, David may have also used the pills on Alice to make her less resistant. I'm not used to talking about stuff like this on this channel. This is rough. The next detail I want to point out is in Mother. Let's listen back to the message David left for Mother.
Hey, it's David. I know it's been a few months since you last heard from me, but I think we should do something as a family tonight. Look, I miss Alice. I miss my daughter so much.
I think that entire bit about doing something as a family tonight is simply a lie to get in the door. Maybe some part of David wants to be a real father to Alice, but David doesn't choose to be good when he could instead be vile. When he shows up at the door, he simply digs an even deeper pit for himself. "I'm just here to see Alice," he says, his voice thick with desperation. He's already discarded the narrative that he wants to do something as a family. He's just there to meet a need. "I won't be long, okay?" Mother denies David's advances, refusing to let him into the house. Originally, I thought she was protecting herself, trying to prevent David from discovering Phoebe's corpse and uncovering her crime. But Mother is probably so deep in smoke-induced delusion that she might actually still see Phoebe as Alice. No, Mother isn't protecting herself. She's protecting her daughter. At first, I interpreted David's aggression in this scene as the just anger of a concerned father. I called him the hero this story needs. Now, it's pretty clear that David's demeanor might be described as violently horny. That makes it much more gratifying to watch Mother rise, brandish a blade, and jam it into the abuser's back. Finally, we know what Mother means when she screams at her dead husband and kicks his corpse. You were never a father to her. Never a father. David was never a father. He never protected Alice or provided for her. He ran around, hooking up with other women rather than being there for his family, and he took far more than he gave. He was a monster, and in the end, Mother killed him for it. That's why Creepy Man Boy, who symbolizes David, is so afraid of the headless woman who symbolizes Mother. In saying all this, I've painted Mother in a pretty positive light, but Product's world is not black and white. The story has not inverted. David is finally identified as a villain, but that doesn't make Mother the hero. Mother hates David mainly for cheating and abandoning her, not for abusing Alice. She isn't selfless. She picks up the knife more out of spite for David than love for Alice. Moreover, while David was a despicable person who preyed on his own child, he never killed anyone. Mother, on the other hand, killed 5 people. Phoebe, who was perfectly innocent. Petunia, who only wanted to help. Barry, who... okay, we don't know too much about Barry. Even Alice, her own daughter, died because Mother didn't want to do the bare minimum to save her life. Mother allowed David's abuse to go on for more than a decade. And when he finally left, when Alice was finally free to grow, Mother let her die. From the moment she was born, Alice lived her life trapped between 2 demons. And when she died, she gave birth to a 3rd. Purple Girl isn't a very long video, but it gives us some long-awaited answers. The video opens in a cartoon lemon grove, where a group of girls are excited to dance with Purple Girl. The weird purple demon lady from Mother's dance video descends from the sky before pulling out a human heart for a few frames and then casually setting herself on fire. The girls are into it, though. They're having a great time despite this random severed arm on the ground. Nothing concerning about that. Everybody's enjoying the fun until Purple Girl rather subtly warns the girls of a newcomer.
Uh-oh.
What's wrong, Purple Girl?
It's Blue Boy.
Oh
You know what that means?
no! What?
If you're under the age of 9...
What follows is a montage of Blue Boy chasing the girls down one by one and attacking them. One girl trips, and when Blue Boy touches her, she turns purple. A storm begins to roll in, and Blue Boy immediately turns his focus towards his next victim. He catches up to the girl easily, hopping towards her like a rabbit, before pouncing onto her back. For a split second, we can see that she too begins to turn purple as Blue Boy is perched on her back. In this same shot, we can see Blue Boy's icky little mitts, like knotted claws crawling with roaches. Blue Boy retrieves a large knife from the ground and flings it at another girl, hitting her squarely in the back. Just like that, only one girl is left. Purple Girl tries to help the last girl by directing her to a safe house, but just as she makes it to the door, his fun being done, Blue Boy frolics between the bodies, and the sky begins to clear. As the sun comes back out from behind the clouds, Purple Girl begins speaking to the dead girls. Only, they aren't dead. "Wake up," she tells them. "You're not dead. You're not dead. You're just purple now," Purple Girl explains. The girls all rise from the ground, still maimed and hurt and purple, but certainly not dead or even distressed. Purple Girl is momentarily distracted by a bald boy sitting with a computer next to the tree. Not the bald boy, just a bald boy. In any case, Purple Girl doesn't seem happy about Chrome Dome's appearance.
Thank you! Oh my god. Purple Girl, that wasn't very nice.
The boy starts to cry, but he doesn't otherwise respond. He simply returns his attention to the computer in front of him, and Purple Girl returns her attention to the girls in need.
All right, kids. It's time to let our happy rain cloud wash your purple away.
It's not coming off. Wait, is this stuff permanent? I don't want to be purple forever. No! I thought it would come off.
This video is particularly puzzling to me, so I'm going to start this section by telling you what I don't know. I have absolutely no idea who this bald kid is. I have no idea who these girls are, and I have no idea where this video is supposed to be set. It's vaguely reminiscent of the grassy dreamscape from Colt Grandma or Giving My Turtle a Haircut, but it's so colorful and pristine, like the entire world is made from plastic. Is this really supposed to be the same place? No, I don't think it is. This fever dream is a part of the same show Mother played at Phoebe and Alice's sleepover. It's not exactly the same tape. We saw a decent bit of Mother's copy during the sleepover montage, and there were no young girls, no blue boy, no bald child, and no graphic violence. Even so, Purple Girl was there, and that's enough of a connection to Mother's storyline for me to conclude that they're related. So, how does this fever dream help us interpret the rest of Product's work? As I said, this video is short but dense with symbolism. Blue Boy seems to represent a based on Purple Girl's warning being directed to anyone under the age of 9. The detail that stands out to me the most about Blue Boy is his hands. They're the same gnarled hands we saw back in Bathwater for sale. I assumed before that those were Purple Girl's hands, but looking back, there appears to be 2 different sets of hands throughout Product's work. The purple hands we see in Alice are very different looking. They're less claw-like and more colorful, so perhaps we've been seeing both Blue Boy and Purple Girl at work all along. The moment Blue Boy contacts any of the girls, they immediately begin to turn purple. In Bathwater for Sale, after Bald Boy's bath with his father, he tells Celestis he's never felt dirtier. And I think that's how these girls feel as they're trying to wash away their purpleness. They had normal, happy lives before Blue Boy appeared, but he changed everything. They aren't dead, they're purple, but purple feels so wrong, so alien. The happy cloud represents the way that people carrying trauma try to act like nothing happened. They mask their hurt with a smile, struggling to feel like they did before they were purple. But scars so deep take years to heal. You can't just wash them off. Purple symbolizes the psychological weight of abuse. It's a creeping thing hiding in the homes of those who hurt. Is it any wonder we see Purple Girl so often in Mother's home? A home where Alice was abused by her father for years, neglected by her mother until she died, then replaced by her friend, only for her to be killed by Mother in turn. Likewise, I think that's why Mother sees visions of Purple Girl during her most violent outbursts. It's the weight of her own trauma pushing her to perpetuate the cycle of abuse. Her hurt leading her to harm Phoebe in return. The biggest mystery of the whole video is Purple Girl herself. Is she another woman who experienced abuse? I don't think so. The monster in Mother's home seems thoroughly inhuman, appearing and disappearing at random like a ghost, haunting Product's channel. I'm almost ready to put all the pieces together, but we've still got to tackle 2 more videos before we can close out this story. Wasp Funeral is the latest fever dream on Product's channel. It's Halloween, and Celestis is about to go trick-or-treating with her pet wasp, Bianca. Only, there's a problem.
Bianca? 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 Wake up.
Taken too soon, Bianca is found dead at the bottom of a bath. Because everything bad that happens in Product usually happens near a bathtub. Right away, Celestis calls for her mom, takes off to find her, and totally eats it on her way down the stairs, which, if I'm correct, this is the 5th time we've seen someone fall down the stairs. I don't think there's a deeper meaning behind that. I think it must just be really fun to animate people falling down the stairs. Now, I'll be real. I never even thought about Celestis having parents. I guess that makes sense, but frankly, I always assumed she was just a self-existent icon of sass, so potent she willed herself into being just to spite people. I never had a reason to believe that, it just felt right. Anyway, Celestis' mom is very normal. When Celestis finds her, she's frying up a healthy dinner of 27 cockroaches and... Okay, maybe she isn't entirely normal. Celestis says that Bianca died because she tried giving her a bath, but before her mom can offer any consolation, someone rings the doorbell and...
If that is who I think it is, I swear to...
Hello!
You're late. Where's your costume? We have to go, like, now! It's prime time for trick-or-treating!
My mommy didn't have time.
Just come in. We'll find you something, just quick!
Celestis leads Bald Boy inside, but as he enters, he sees her faceless mom sitting far away on a couch in the living room with an unidentifiable man standing behind her. Celestis tells Bald Boy not to look at her mom, and explains that she doesn't deserve that kind of attention for someone her age. Celestis and Bald Boy walk upstairs, past the lemon clock, and to her room. Celestis digs through her wardrobe, trying to find something, anything, that would make a suitable costume for Bald Boy, when he finally notices that Celestis doesn't seem to be in costume either.
Seriously? You seriously don't understand my costume? I'm from the 80s!
What's the 80s?
I don't know, my mom said that these clothes were from there. I think it's somewhere in Europe.
Celestis decides that she doesn't have a suitable costume for Bald Boy, but she has a solution.
I'm not sure I want my clothes coming in contact with your greasy little fingers. So why don't you just keep wearing what you're wearing now and we can just say that you're like an orphan or something.
Bald Boy agrees to the plan, but he has a request. Seems like there's someone in the neighborhood who makes Bald Boy pretty uncomfortable. And no, it isn't Celestis.
When we go trick-or-treating, can we please avoid the house next door? The lady there makes me uncomfortable.
You don't exactly get to call the shots, foreskin. In case you didn't know, my beloved pet Wasp, Bianca, tragically died in the bathtub today.
Oh no!
So we're gonna do what Bianca would have wanted. Which means we're gonna go to every house on the block.
No!
Yes! We are! And then we're going to walk into the woods and bury her.
Fine!
Great. Let's go raise some hell.
Celestis drags Bald Boy out of the house, and the pair hits the neighborhood. The streets are covered in trick-or-treaters. We've got a weird eyeball thing, a girl wearing the dress of eternal regret and unseized ambitions, a random businessman who probably has a really, really stupid voice, and a random adult woman. All totally normal stuff. Not only do Bald Boy and Celestis disregard any apprehensions about the woman next door, they actually start with her house. Honestly, I don't get what Bald Boy is so scared of. I know we've seen some freaks in this series, but surely this lady ain't that bad. I mean, his own family is probably... With no signs that Celestis is coming out on her own, Bald Boy faces his fears and approaches the house. Inside, Celestis is confronted with a woman with a severe skin condition. The condition being that she has none. This strange skeleton lady shows Celestis a collection of photographs that she's taken, pen pal style. They're pictures of Celestis. Celestis on the street, Celestis with Bald Boy's cat, and Celestis... never mind. Naturally, Celestis assumes that the corpse wants her autograph. Very Celestis of her. But the skeleton lady shakes her head. Maybe she wants a picture. No, that's not it either. Ah, wait, I've got it.
Do you want to look like me or something? Yeah? Well, that's not quite possible, ugly.
Celestis, paragon of kindness and intellect that she is, watches the skeleton lady pick up a cleaver and doesn't even move. She just continues to gloat, but I fear that the skeleton's plan to resemble Celestis might go a bit beyond makeup and manicures.
Yeah, so I use this like really pretty shimmery coral pink. It's kind of my signature.
Celestis?
Bald Boy hears the scream, but he's unable to get through the door. The only way in is up. He climbs a nearby tree, scrambles onto the balcony, and quietly eases his way into the top level of the skeleton's home. Back in the bone zone, the skeleton is taking a moment to admire her new flesh and to plan which part to replace next. At least, she does until Bald Boy makes the shot of the century with a bar stool. Celestis flees upstairs to her rescuer, but as it turns out, It's actually pretty hard to concuss something that doesn't have a brain. The skeleton woman is back on her feet after only a few moments, and then she's shambling up the steps towards the two kids. When the pair emerges onto the balcony, for just a few frames, we can see that extra boards have been added to the railing so that it says Donna, an Easter egg for Dirty Donna, no doubt. The kids freeze on the balcony, moments away from being seized by bony fingers. With no time to think, Baldboy explains to Celestis that he got up by climbing the...
Oh my god, we could have taken the tree! Oh, you're so...
Oh, you're so stupid, Celestis.
Quick as they can, Celestis and Baldboy are off into the woods. However, not far behind them, the skeleton woman exits her home and sets out into the Halloween night. As the pair walks through the woods and searches for a suitable place to bury Bianca, Celestis is just casually chatting with Baldboy about her uncle and sharing needles. Suddenly, Celestis spots the perfect place. An old junker car has been abandoned in the woods, and there's something in the trunk.
Hello there, little guy.
What? This is a wasp nest. What did you think we were looking at?
While this exchange is mostly just a joke, I think it might also relate back to the original thumbnail for Wasp Funeral, which showed a beehive built into a human skull. Celestis explains to Baldboy that since her finger is, he's going to have to be the one to dig the grave, and dang, that boy can dig. He sets Bianca's jar into the hole, and Celestis begins a eulogy. Baldboy tries to chime in, but Celestis makes it very clear that Baldboy isn't there to share his thoughts. He could never understand. It's not like he's ever lost a pet. Though, except for that one time. All he's here to do is dig hole, be silent, and fill hole.
Just fill the hole filler. Sure, Jackass.
After that comes one of the most confusing moments in the film. Baldboy says that the abandoned car looks familiar. I have no idea why he says this. We've never seen this car anywhere else on the channel, as best I can remember. When he goes to check it out, things look pretty rough. The windshield is shattered, and it looks like it's covered in dried blood. Whoever's car this was, it ain't theirs anymore. Somehow, as he's climbing into the car, Baldboy doesn't notice that the skeleton woman from before is hiding in the back seat. She doesn't seem to be moving, so maybe she's actually dead now. The car keys are still in the ignition, and with one turn, the engine comes to life. At the same time, outside the car, Celestis begins to hear something coming up from Bianca's grave. Buzzing. She puts her ear to the dirt and listens, and finds that, sure enough, Bianca may still be alive. Get it? Be alive? It's an incredible stroke of luck, but the kid's good fortune is short-lived, because Bianca isn't the only one who's back from the dead. I know I already gave a content warning at the beginning of this video, but here's another, because it is about to get pretty rough.
Bianca! Bianca! You're alive!
Baldboy seriously cannot catch a break. Dude hasn't appeared in a single video without getting his head cut off. And with the dang saw this time, I think I'd prefer the axe. Heck, even Celestis gets absolutely obliterated in this episode, and she normally gets out fine. Pretty interesting to me is that she technically gets killed by Baldboy again, since it's his head falling on the accelerator, which causes her to get run over. For whatever reason, the fever dreams seem to rhyme a lot. But what's connecting them all? I'll come back to that, but right now, there are more pressing matters at hand. I see Wasp Funeral as a story about loss and the ways that we respond to it. The two most important characters in this episode are Celescus and the skeleton, both of whom have suffered some sort of loss. Celescus mourns the loss of her pet, and the skeleton has lost her flesh, possibly representing a woman who has lost her youth. Both of their actions in this fever dream highlight a different possible response to loss. Celescus plans to move forward while honoring Bianca's memory. That's why she's so set on visiting every house in the neighborhood. On the other hand, the skeleton lady represents someone who's unwilling to let go of the past. She'll do anything to regain her youth, even cutting up a young girl and stealing her youth piece by bloody piece. At the end, when Celescus hears the buzzing beneath the dirt and begins to dig, she adopts the same reluctance to let go of the past as the skeleton. In the end, neither of them get what they want. Celescus's youthful form is mangled beyond mending, and Bianca remains buried. Loss is often permanent, and holding on to something beyond its time can lead to disaster. At least, maybe that's what it's about. I don't know, man. This video's about a girl getting stalked by a spirit Halloween prop. I gotta find something worth saying. Anyway, what I do know is that this video is loaded with Easter eggs, and each of them is a rabbit hole unto itself. The first I found is some text on the wallpaper of Celescus's room, which reads, Celescus on YouTube. That Easter egg leads to a YouTube channel run by Product that is more than 5 years old. There are several uploads on this channel which predate even Dirty Donna by almost a year, but so far as I can tell, there's not a whole lot that we can learn about Celescus from these videos, except that she doesn't take very good care of her hair, I guess.
I haven't washed my hair in 4 years. Go on, hair. Tell them what you think.
I'm so clean.
Turning our attention back to Wasp Funeral, we can find another bit of text on Celescus's nightstand that says, 7 sisters. I might be looking at this from the wrong angle, but considering the references to Dirty Donna in this episode, I believe 7 sisters might be related to some hidden text in the next film. Here's my theory. Maybe Prudence wasn't Donna's only sister. If that's true, and this text is implying that Donna has 5 other sisters beside Prudence, that sets the stage for an incredibly chaotic story surrounding Donna. Just look at what happened when Donna was interacting with just one of her sisters. Can you imagine how crazy things would get if there were 5 more of them? At this time, Wasp Funeral is Product's latest upload, and I'm pretty sure that the stories across the channel are about to go in directions I can barely begin to predict. However, I'm confident that Donna is incredibly important to the future of Product's channel. Someone else we can expect to see more of is that weird skinned red figure you've probably noticed shuffling around in the background of the video. It's outside Celescus's bedroom door, and it's on the street with the trick-or-treaters, but you may have missed its appearance in another video on Product's channel, Meet Roxy. Heck, it's even in the thumbnail for that video, pinching a cigarette. I didn't plan on covering Meet Roxy in detail since it's primarily meant to showcase the Roxy the Roach plushie, but there are still some important details to highlight. Throughout this short video, we see the skinned man a few times outside of Donna's home. However, I also want to draw your attention to the bottle of Olivia's melatonin gummies, which is suspiciously similar in color to the red creature. Also, on the bottle is a bit of blurry text and a string of numbers, which, spaced out, gives us the dates October 17th, December 19th, and February 13th. I think the text might say the Antichrist. In any case, just like Purple Girl, I'm sure this new monochromatic monster has an important part to play in the future of the channel, but only Product knows what that part will be. Additionally, I want to point out this shot of Donna's bookcase. On it, we can see several books which appear to have stars carved along their spines, and a picture of an unfamiliar woman. This could be one of Donna's sisters, but considering how well Donna got along with Prudence, I don't think that Donna's particularly fond of the whole siblings thing. If this person is part of the family, I think it's most likely Donna's mother. Finally, I want to point to one particular line from Olivia that didn't really strike me as important until I sat down to write this.
Did you know that a cockroach can survive without its head? That's inspiring.
That remind you of anyone? Someone whose life stubbornly persists despite the occasional beheading? I'm referring, of course, to Bald Boy. Bathwater for Sale, Giving My Turtle a Haircut, and now Wasp Funeral. We've seen him be decapitated 3 times now, and at this point, I'd honestly be shocked if it stuck. Bald Boy is a cockroach in human form, surviving over and over again, no matter what's thrown at him. Inspiring, isn't it? Father begins with a familiar scene. Mother's house is burning, and though she rushes from door to door pleading for help, all she gets is laughter from inside her neighbors' homes. All alone, she returns to the fire for Phoebe's body. Confronted with the flames, Mother admits that she was a bad parent, but not for long. Overwhelmed by the pain of her shattered identity, Mother closes her eyes tight, and when she opens them again, it's like nothing ever happened. No kidnapping, no dead daughter, and no fire. I want to go ahead and get this out of the way at the start of the video. No one in this episode acknowledges any evidence of a house fire, and I think that's because the house fire never really happened. That's why Mother's neighbors don't help, that's why the fire department never comes, and that's why Mother's story can even continue. The burning building was a reflection of Mother's crumbling delusion, not a material reality. Now that she's recommitted to pretending everything is okay, it's back to business as usual. Or unusual in this case. Mother's still got 2 corpses on her hands after all. 5 if you count Petunia and Barry and... Wait, where's Al? That night, Mother decides to cook something special for dinner. Fried eggs. Yeah, real special. In her pan, we can see that of the 3 eggs, only 1 yolk hasn't broken. A symbol of Mother's broken family. I really hoped Mother had sobered up at the end of the first film, but at this point, she's deeper in the delusion than ever. Probably a combination of the smoking and head trauma. In the wake of her near lapse in lunacy, Mother now imagines Phoebe as the ideal child, a child who's always happy, who no longer challenges Mother's fantasy, and who always says exactly what Mother wants her to say.
I'm so happy the house didn't actually burn down.
David, on the other hand, is seen more objectively. Don't get me wrong, Mother still lies to herself when it comes to David. She writes off his rot stench as the stink of alcohol, but doesn't imagine his voice as much as Phoebe's. She may speak to him, but he rarely responds, and when he does so as his worst and truest self, drunk and obsessed with his daughter. Even Mother can't pretend that David was a good man. She recalls too much of the abuse and betrayal for that, and most of all, she remembers the infidelity. That's easy, because Tiffany keeps calling David's phone, and when that inevitably fails, she tracks down the number of Mother's landline.
Oh, well, would you look at that? The bitch is smart. She pulled out the yellow pages. This bitch is clever. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, whore.
Honestly, I feel so bad for Tiffany. She probably wasn't even aware David was married when they met, and by the time she found out, she was already planning to have kids with him. It's tragic seeing her be so loyal to David when he isn't loyal to her at all. I mean, goodness, when he died, he was literally at Mother's house trying to cheat on Tiffany with his own daughter. That's so many levels of disgusting. Mother says that David is drunk and that Tiffany will have to pick him up. Tiffany agrees without knowing what she's getting herself into, and Mother says she can stop by that evening. In the meantime, it's time for a trip to the grocery store. Mother brings Phoebe for some fresh air, and while they're driving away, we get the first Easter egg of this episode. On this thermostat, you can find a string of seemingly random letters. HPR MMB HFV. This is an at-bash of the words Skinny Sue, but that shouldn't mean much to you yet. On the way to the grocery store, we hear Mother's side of an imagined conversation with Alice, a conversation that rapidly takes a negative turn when,
After today, I promise you, he will not be back in the house. He's not gonna hurt you. Absolutely not! I mean, don't you remember what happened last time, Alice? See what happens when you don't listen to your mother? See what happens? Now pick your head up, dog.
Mother enters the supermarket, passing a missing poster of Phoebe on her way in, and you already know she booking it to that eggs aisle, passing up these delicious cupcakes and completely ignoring the freakishly overpriced eggplants, carrots, and lemons. At checkout, a man approaches Mother and comments on her odd purchases. This is Ricky, and he's about to become very important.
Oh, somebody sure likes eggs.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I was trying to flirt. It kind of came out wrong. Can I try again?
Would you like to donate $1 to starving
No! Alice! Alice! Mother's going on a date.
Looks like Mother was so excited to share the news that she completely forgot her groceries, but that's all right. Her new suitor is kind enough to bring them to her car. When he does, he notices Phoebe through the window.
You've a daughter.
Oh, that's my Alice. I mean, I will let you say hi, but she's on punishment at the moment.
All good. She reminded me of someone that I lost.
Oh, I'm sorry for...
Mother gives Ricky her condolences. She knows how hard it is to lose someone, and he sends Mother on her way, telling her he's excited for their date. With that, Mother heads home, but not before slipping back into the store to snag those cupcakes as a little celebration. If you weren't too distracted by the shock of Mother pulling a man, you may already see where this story is headed. If not, let me point out that, despite being at the supermarket, Ricky leaves without buying anything. He wasn't there for groceries, but there are other reasons to be in an area with so many eyes. But that's all I'll say for now. Back at home, Mother checks her weight and immediately decides that the cupcakes were a bad idea, so straight into the trash they go. Mother employs Phoebe's help to pick an outfit for her date with Ricky.
Oh, Alice, which one? Which one?
Yeah, I think the purple dress.
I think so, too.
Overall, Mother's feeling optimistic about her future. She yanks off David's necklace. She doesn't belong to him anymore, and she doesn't hesitate to remind him.
Someone's very interested in me, David. You should be jealous.
On March 16th, 2006, the life Mother and Alice always deserved would begin. If you saw the binary on the calendar, I went ahead and translated it for you. It says, Skinny Sue, Donna's sister. This is the hidden text I referred to back in Wasp Funeral. See, whoever this Skinny Sue is, she must be one of Donna's 6 sisters. With Prudence being dead, that leaves 4 sisters unaccounted for. I'd be tempted to theorize that Mother is one of them, but the Dirty interview says outright that Mother and Donna aren't related. Yes, I know that earlier in this video I said I don't consider that interview to be canon, but that line in particular seems like product trying to keep the community on track with our theories. In any case, if we ever learn more about Donna, I hope we'll learn something about Skinny Sue, too. While Mother is taunting David and getting ready, we see several cryptic shots. In one, Phoebe just kind of falls into frame from the kitchen. In another, we see a TV and several labeled tapes on the far side of the room. I'll come back to those shortly. Right now, there's a little bit of time before Tiffany arrives at Mother's house, and this is what I want to focus on. There's a short string of text at the top of the screen that is almost completely invisible. I took it into Photoshop to clear it up, and while it's still mostly illegible, this is what I got. Like I said, I still can't read most of it. Even with editing, it's too blurry at the edges to clarify the top line or the first words on the bottom line. Even what I could make out looks nonsensical, but just like with the text from the thermometer, this is an @bash cipher. An @bash is a message written with a reverse alphabet. A equals Z, B equals Y, C equals X, and so on. To decipher it, you just rewrite it using the reverse of each letter. Or just do what I did and plug it into a website that does it for you. Doing so with our hidden message results in the text, pan is a clock, the handle is the hand. So let's overlay a clock with the pan in this shot. That'd make it 8 o'clock, but clocks are supposed to have 2 hands. That in mind, I'm assuming the top line of the hidden message wants us to use the kettle as the other hand, and it's roughly pointing at 10. This image is what I've ended up with. I'm hesitant to suggest any particular interpretation because I've hit a wall and I don't want to lead you to the same dead end as me. I think the solution to the Easter egg might be a particular date, probably a Friday or Saturday, and I think we'll need to apply the concept of the Atbash cipher in some unorthodox way, like reversing a calendar or something like that. Look over what I've laid out and see what you can find. Maybe your fresh eyes will notice something I don't, and... Oh, sounds like Tiffany's here early.
Well, looks like someone cares for you, David. Oh, God, finally you're here. Come on in, Tiffany. Come on in.
Oh, God. What the fuck is that smell?
Oh, yeah, smells like tramp.
This, to me, proves that the house fire at the end of Mother was a reflection of Mother's mental state and not a real event. If Mother was living in the burned-out husk of a home, Tiffany would have reacted very differently, and the smell certainly wouldn't be the first thing she noticed. The fire was Mother's mind trying to protect itself, trying to imagine a scenario where she could accept the death of her family without accepting responsibility for it. In the end, even if it wasn't her fault, the pain of a dead daughter was too much for Mother to bear, and so she clung to the fantasy despite the lapse in logic. The alternative is that Mother is hallucinating Tiffany in this scene, but her hallucinations are never that realistic, so I'm writing that theory off entirely. Mother lies and tells Tiffany it stinks because the fridge died and is full of rotting food. A lie as much to protect Mother's delusion as to deceive Tiffany. It doesn't take long for Tiffany to find David's corpse, not like Mother tried to hide it. She doesn't realize that David's body is the source of the smell, maybe because Phoebe's in the kitchen, masking his stench with her own rot. But Tiffany can tell that something is wrong.
He needs a doctor.
He's fine. Trust me. You be with him long enough, you know that this is how he does. This is just his act, Tiffany.
Well, he only fucking drinks like that when it comes to you.
As things continue to escalate between Mother and Tiffany, Phoebe can be seen in the kitchen with these strange cracks forming around her body. The last time we saw those cracks, it was when Mother pulled a knife on Phoebe at the end of Alice. Normally, they appear when Mother is growing irate and violent. Live leak violent. This is Mother at her most deranged, swinging between extremes of spite and sympathy. One moment, she lashes out at Tiffany, full of venom. The next, she speaks to her like she's the only person in the world who could ever understand her. It's during this storm of conflicting emotions that we get potentially one of the most tragically fitting reveals in the entirety of Mother's storyline.
Does he talk to you about having kids? Tiffany, look at me.
God.
Look at me in my goddamn eyes.
Fucking hell.
Are you with child?
No.
I got a sixth sense for motherhood, Tiffany. I can sniff out your pregnancy like a goddamn truffle pig. David, you got her knocked up. Hope you're father to this one.
Call me when he sobers up.
But you have yet to see David's tapes.
Mother is entirely unhinged at this point, so I don't fully trust her assessment, but I'm pretty sure Tiffany is actually pregnant. When we first met her in Alice, she spoke about having kids with David as a foregone conclusion, or possibly even an imminent reality. I don't think that David, busy little bunny that he was particularly concerned with where he spread his seed. That also explains why Tiffany was so loyal to David, despite how despicable he was. She wanted her child to have a father, even if he was a bad one. Fortunately, Mother spared Tiffany's child the hell of having David as a father. Unfortunately, this revelation puts Tiffany in incredible danger. She had stolen Mother's husband, and that had been enough to breed a deep, deep hatred within Mother. Now, Tiffany was back, and she was going to take something immeasurably more important: Mother's identity. For Mother, nothing is more important than the feeling of being a good mom. It even surpasses the importance of being a good mom. Tiffany's pregnancy is the ultimate reminder of every sin Mother has committed, every way that Mother has failed, and everything that Mother has lost. Soon, Tiffany would have everything Mother ever wanted, and Mother would be left with nothing but ghosts and guilt. And that was unacceptable.
Oh, Tiffany.
Mother, having finally carried out every violent fantasy from Alice, rearranges the furniture and prepares David's tapes. Tiffany may not have been willing to accept the truth in life, but in death, she's powerless to avert her eyes from the evidence of David's degeneracy. Once again, we see the collection of tapes around the television. There are more tapes now, so I've compiled them and transcribed their titles as best I can here. Before Mother starts playing these tapes, there are two that I want to point out. The first is this one, ? That might seem random, but it's actually the official title of the fever dream that I've been calling Purple Girl. More importantly, as we'll see, this tape contains basically everything we saw in that fever dream. Based on that, I think that the tape marked with a single ? Might be the less violent dance video that Mother played for Alice's sleepover. Next, look at this tape titled Birthday 2003. Haven't we seen a birthday before? Why does that sound so familiar?
You know, it feels just like yesterday when they were like knee high. Oh, yeah. Look at them now.
Okay.
Hey.
It's now time out this month's WOW Award. What does WOW stand for? Well Organized Worker. And this month's WOW Award goes to Alice.
Come on, we're gonna...
Hey, can't you see Daddy's talking to you? Daddy didn't dump her WOW award. And you hate Daddy's little girl starting to look just like your mother. You're taking care of happy birthday, baby.
David, I don't think the girls want to be filmed right now.
Mother, look, I don't want to go to the park today. It's hot. I already played outside.
I forgot to tell you, your mother says she couldn't make it. Aren't you disappointed in her? Come here. Why you keep moving away from me? What's wrong?
Oh, God, can I open my eyes now, David?
Not yet, sweetheart.
David. Oh, David, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Happy Valentine's Day, baby. Baby, are you gonna put it on? Come on, Alice. Alice, this necklace very special to Daddy. Come on, baby. Don't you want to feel close to your daddy? Happy Valentine's Day, baby.
Knowing what we do about Mother's story, it's hard to imagine a more radically perverse image than this. Alice, marked by David with the same necklace we've seen over and over again, so strikingly uncomfortable as to dispel any lingering doubts about the darkness that has infiltrated Mother's family. Something purple and wicked may creep in the background of these films, but the monster has been living in the home for years. 11 years, to be precise. I won't spend a lot of time diving into all the particular evils showcased by David's tapes, but it's obvious in general just how much he made Alice uncomfortable. David often isolates Alice, as we see just after Alice earns her WOW award. While David may physically corner Alice in many cases, he also tries to isolate her mentally and emotionally. Take, for example, the scene where they're eating ice cream together in the park. David says to Alice, "I forgot to tell you, your mother says she couldn't make it. Aren't you disappointed in her?" Here, David is trying to erode Alice's trust in Mother, who, despite her flaws, is at least occasionally an obstacle to David's abuse. By creating a narrative and turning Alice against her mother, he paints himself as the better parent and minimizes the resistance between himself and sick gratification. It's a long and calculated campaign of manipulation, and from it spawns the lie that leads to Alice's death.
Dad would take me.
Before I move on from these tapes, there are a few details you may have missed. Way in the background of the first shot of the first tape, we can see Purple Girl. She's blurry and partially obscured, but easily identifiable. She looks very similar to her appearance on David's 3 question marks tape, though I'm not sure if that means she was really there or not. In any case, it seems important. Next, there are several Easter eggs on this corkboard. There's a poster referencing Purple Girl, another reference to lemons, and another clock, which just feels like it's mocking me at this point. The color purple appears a lot on David's tapes, particularly during Alice's birthday party, which, as I'm sure you noticed, is the same party we saw at the end of Creepy Man Boy. Purple balloons, purple presents, purple corruption spreading up the wall, all the ordinary features of any kid's birthday party. Those presents look awfully familiar, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence that this is the same style of wrapping we saw under the Christmas tree in Bathwater for Sale. Finally, the comforter on the bed is purple, suggesting that perhaps the reach of Mother and David's abuse was not limited only to Alice, but also extended to each other. The entire family dynamic corrupt to the very core. Having shown Tiffany everything, Mother leaves her and David to discuss. Mother pulls a divider into the doorway to give the corpses some privacy, and we see a set of purple fingers creeping across Tiffany's face. Mother goes to find her daughter, only to discover that Alice isn't where she remembered leaving her. That's odd. One too many cigarettes, perhaps? She finds her upstairs with the box of cupcakes, and she scolds her dead not daughter for being so unhealthy. She puts the girl to bed before realizing that she's made a critical error. She set up her date with Ricky without having a babysitter lined up. Thankfully, Petunia and Barry are such great neighbors. They agree to keep Alice for as long as Mother wants. With that, everything's in place for Mother to enjoy her date with Ricky.
Getting to know someone for the first time is such a pleasure. And Ricky, he really opened up about his life. A woman has the right to know what she's getting herself into. What happened? If you don't mind me asking. Oh, I forgot how much fun dating was.
She was 11. She went missing 9 months ago.
Oh.
Statistically, after 9 months, you stop searching and you start grieving.
Ricky, I'm sorry to hear that.
I don't like talking about it. You have the right to know.
What was your daughter's name?
Her name was Phoebe.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Baby!
Taking you both. Phoebe. What a name.
As if it couldn't get more tragic, it turns out that Mother is now dating the man whose daughter she kidnapped and killed. For a moment there, I really hoped that Mother might finally break down and accept reality, might admit what she'd done and give this poor man some closure, but the lie is too strong. She enjoys her date with Ricky, as well as several more. After just a few months of dating, they're starting to get really close. Their relationship becomes a shared symbol of the future, of new life after loss, and Ricky in particular seems head over heels for Mother. He's so serious about her that he even gives Mother a necklace, a much nicer one than David could ever afford, surely. Only one thing seems strange. For as long as Ricky has been dating Mother, and for as serious as they've become, he's never met the daughter that she talks about constantly. She's always at home or with a babysitter, like Mother is hiding her. However, any anxieties he may have harbored melt away when Mother finally suggests that Ricky come to her house for a home-cooked meal.
Ricky's coming. Ricky's coming. Tonight, he's gonna think I'm a monster. Alice, get down here and help your mother tidy up the house. We've got an hour.
It's finally time for Ricky to meet Alice. Mother hurries to clean up the house with the short time she's got, even if her lazy daughter refuses to help. She moves the furniture, vacuums, and she sprays down the whole house with like 5 gallons of Febreze. David and Tiffany are looking worse than ever, except for David's hair, which is still perfect for some reason. But they're hidden away so that Ricky won't see them, so who cares?
Now listen, if my mother taught me anything, the smell of divorce can only be masked by the smell of a home-cooked meal.
Mother's pulling out all the stops. She's got spaghetti, scotch, and a corpse covered in makeup. If that ain't the way to a man's heart, I don't know what is. Mother is excited, and likewise, something seems to have gotten into Purple Girl. All of Mother's talk about the date seems to be making her restless. She's growing bolder, moving out in the open, barely even bothering to hide.
Just as that pasta's done cooking, I'll holler your name once. So listen for it. That'll be your cue. You'll come downstairs, just like a decent little girl you are, fully dressed, with a smile. And then you'll introduce yourself. You'll then sit at the table, fork to the right, knife to the left. And you may only leave once I excuse you. And don't you say a word.
Mother's plan is all in place. She's got on Ricky's necklace, the house is clean, dinner is on, and Phoebe's all dolled up in the same dress as Bald Boy's mom and Cold Grandma. But you and I both know this night is doomed to failure. Despite Mother's delusions, there is no Alice to walk downstairs and play the perfect daughter. And if Ricky sees Phoebe, well, would he even recognize her after a year of rot? Oh, and also, Mother's dinnerware etiquette is reversed. The fork goes on the left, knife on the right. Yet another example of her backwards home life. Mother closes out her pep talk to Phoebe with a promise. After tonight, everything would be different. After tonight, she would finally secure the father that Alice always deserved. Then, she drags Phoebe's corpse out of the room and deposits it, face down, on Alice's bed. When Ricky arrives, he doesn't seem to mind the utensils' poor placement. Partway through dinner, a bit of rain helps set the mood. It also helps to mask the uncanny sounds coming from Alice's room. Just as we saw Purple Girl taking an interest in Tiffany's corpse before, now she's playing with Phoebe. And not for the first time either. From our perspective in Alice's room, it's very hard to make out Mother and Ricky's muffled downstairs conversation. But if you listen very carefully, you might hear something shocking. Mother's real name is Angela, a name meaning messenger. Mother has never told her name to another living soul for as long as we've been watching her, so it must have taken some remarkable vulnerability from Mother to share something like that with Ricky. I'm impressed. I assumed her relationship with Ricky was hollow, the latest weak effort at piecing together a picturesque family. But maybe not. Maybe she really does just want to move past all the hurt into something new. Maybe Mother is changing. I'd almost feel bad for her if she hadn't killed this dude's daughter.
So does this mean I finally get to meet your daughter?
Oh.
Alice?
Yes.
She'll be joining us, right?
Yes. Of course. Alice. Come down here and meet Mr. Hill.
Stop. This is how I expected things to go. Mother calls for Alice, and of course, nothing happens. Mother tells Ricky to stay right there, goes upstairs, yells at nobody for a couple of minutes. Then, Mother comes downstairs, saying Alice is on punishment, and, looks like they'll have the rest of the night to themselves. Instead, this happens.
I do apologize. She doesn't take too well to strangers.
Hey, it's all good. I understand.
Alice, you come down here right this second. Come down here. She's such a shy little girl This is just such a stressful situation for her, after me and David's divorce. You're the first man that I'm actually really getting a date. So she is really nervous about this whole ordeal, and she doesn't take well to strangers. I really don't understand why exactly she's acting like this. We have rehearsed this. I told her, Alice, you come down and you speak like... What's wrong? Oh, there you are, Alice. Come down here right this second. Alice, you hold your head up high in the presence of a house guest. Okay.
Oh, God! What the fuck?
Ricky.
Let me fucking go.
What's wrong?
Ricky's world is completely shattered. He's confused, but he's fully aware that this situation is nothing like what he imagined it to be. His relationship with Angela has never been a step forward. He spent the last several months walking backwards through grief, moving in the right direction for the very first time since his daughter went missing nearly a year ago. Now that he'd found Phoebe, found answers, he didn't know what to do with them. Mother watches as Ricky picks up the knife she used to kill David, and just as Mother did in the past, now Ricky turns the blade against his daughter's abuser. Mother is convinced that she's done something wrong, but she's completely lost touch with reality. She asks what could have bothered Ricky so deeply. Was it the food? Was it too much garlic? Or perhaps her hair? Did he not like her hair? She could change. She could. She could. Ricky doesn't even realize what he's done, but even if he did, I doubt he would regret it. He releases the knife, leaving it plunged through Mother's abdomen, and he runs away from the house as fast as he possibly can. Mother, on the other hand, fully realizes what has happened. She was still standing, but that didn't avert the inevitable end. Ricky had killed her. Not only that, but by stabbing her through the uterus, he had completely destroyed the woman who thought of herself only as mother. Her child was dead, and she would have no more. She was mother no longer. In her last moments, Angela takes one final bite of her mother's spaghetti, reminding herself where she came from. She lights up one final cigarette, her only comfort across many years of misery. The rain begins to pick up, and a strike of lightning knocks out power throughout the house. That's okay. She doesn't need it anymore. Angela descends to the basement, to the site of her greatest sin, to die at her daughter's side. She isn't pretending any longer. There's no time for anything but honesty now.
Alice, you were such an angel. I tried my very best to love you. But look at you. Just look at you. Look at what you've become. I tried to be better at parenting, at motherhood. I tried to be better than my mother, and I ended up becoming her. All I ever wanted to be was a mother to you, to give you the things that I had never had. And look at what it cost you. Mother loves you. You know I do.
I'm a sucker for the sort of tragic poetry that Father aims for with its ending. When I finished watching the premiere back in July, the first thing I did was write to Product to say that I couldn't imagine a more satisfactory ending to Mother's story. Going into it, I wanted answers, but I didn't want every answer. I was a little scared this film might spell everything out too clearly, but I hope you see that it does not. I believe it delivers every piece of the puzzle that we've been missing, but it never tells you how they fit together, and that's perfect. While each of Product's films comes together as part of a larger puzzle, every film is an enigma unto itself. Every story stands alone, not just as an emotionally effective vignette, but also as a work worth analyzing. Even when each story is only part of a series, as is the case with Mother, you're constantly reevaluating your assumptions and reassessing your expectations. That's the beauty of watching Product and picking it apart. It doesn't matter where you start or stop, it just gets better the further you go. I've tried to analyze much of this episode as I went, so that I could spend this section on a particular pair of theories that, yet again, completely recontextualize Mother's storyline. I think it's entirely possible that when Phoebe's corpse failed to come downstairs on its own, Mother would have come up with a reason why Ricky couldn't see her daughter. Anything to keep the delusion going. She would have had dinner with Ricky, and they would have continued going out. I never expected Purple Girl to involve herself so intimately in Mother's storyline, but she essentially causes the death of Mother by puppeting Phoebe to the top of the stairs and showing her corpse to Ricky. It all went wrong because Purple Girl did exactly as Mother asked. So, why the apparent obedience? It all comes down to a question of identity. Who is Purple Girl? My first theory is that Purple Girl is the physical manifestation of the monster within Mother, an evil germinated in Alice's secret abuse and accelerated into existence by Mother's cruelty to Phoebe, so potent and so opposite to the ideals of parenthood that it took on tangible form. Mother wanted so badly to reject her failures that she conjured up a dark self-image, a hideous, lurking, purple fiend to take the blame for every shortcoming, while Mother pretends to be the perfect parent. That might explain why Mother sees visions of Purple Girl during her most violent episodes. No, it wasn't me who killed Phoebe. It was that purple thing. I like this theory because of how well it seems to line up with Mother's psychology. I think there's a decent chance this theory is true, and I haven't technically found any strong reasons to think it's false. But let's go back to the first time we ever saw Purple Girl, on the dance video in Alice. As I said earlier, I believe that this is likely footage from David's question mark tape, but we know that this isn't the only footage of Purple Girl in the house. It's not much of a stretch to assume that, at some point, Alice probably watched the terrifying 3 question marks tape. However, rather than being scared by it, I think that Purple Girl became the symbol of all the hurt Alice held. As twisted as it was, I think Alice felt some small comfort from the tape and from the words that Purple Girl had for the abused girls, and that's why Mother played it for her when she was on the brink of death. When Alice finally died on the couch during the slumber party, the last thing her unfocused eyes might have seen may very well have been the face of her hero, the purple woman who assured children that even after the worst has happened, even after you've been wronged in unthinkable, unnatural ways, you aren't dead. You're just purple. I believe that the creature we've been seeing in Mother's home ever since the slumber party has been Alice all along. Not dead, just purple. This purple girl is essentially the ghost of Alice, or more accurately, the ghost of the innumerable injustices enacted upon her, embodied by the image of her childhood trauma. David was never a father to her. Mother was never a mother to her. In death, she took on the face of her only comforter to seek what she had always wanted and never had. In the end, Alice never got the parents she deserved, but she did give Phoebe and her father justice. I think it's fair to say that the end of this film marks the beginning of a new era for product. As more films are released, I'm sure we'll learn more about these characters in the future, but now, I'm ready to shed some light on this story's darkest secrets. The main goal of this analysis is to construct one continuous timeline which includes as much of Product's work as possible. I see Mother's trilogy as the nucleus around which the world of Product is formed. Every other film and fever dream points back to Mother and her family in at least some capacity. Even the fever dreams, as disconnected and nonsensical as they may seem, will aid in unfolding the full horror behind Mother, Alice, and David. And here's why. Each of Product's stories is shared through one of two settings: the neighborhood and the dreamscape. These aren't different worlds, although they appear in very different ways and operate under very different rules. In Mother, Alice, Linda's Face, Dirty Donna, and Father, we see the neighborhood, a place of laws and logic. For the most part, I take these films at face value, but there is some room for error. Mother, Donna, Linda, they're all people whose view of concrete reality is twisted by grief, pain, or even just straight-up drugs. And anything unnatural in the neighborhood is usually a result of these altered states of perception, Purple Girl being the exception. Then there's the dreamscape, seen in Cold Grandma, Giving My Turtle a Haircut, Creepy Man Boy, and Wasp Funeral. A world of bizarre characters and abstract symbols. I believe that the dreamscape is shaped by the waking world and warped by the imperfect lens of perception. In each fever dream, we see scenes and stories which relate back to events in the neighborhood. These videos are abstract because they don't showcase the events themselves. They present one specific character's feelings, blending his mind with material reality. But which character? On this channel, a channel where half the videos we've watched have been called fever dreams, there's one question we should have been asking from the start. Who's dreaming? I see Bathwater for Sale as a midpoint between reality and dream. Product recently restructured their playlists, but before that, this was the only video in both the films and fever dreams playlist, and I think that was intentional. It's uncharacteristically grounded for a fever dream. Just as Mother, Dirty Donna, and Linda's Face showcase the human horrors of delusion, addiction, and cruelty, Bathwater for Sale showcases the horror of abuse. It's disgusting. It's horrific. Worst of all, it's possible. I believe that the film takes place entirely in the neighborhood, and that the uncanny elements we see are representative of Bald Boy's feelings about his life and family. At least, that's what I think up until the appearance of the Pale Woman at the end. The Pale Woman appears regularly throughout the fever dreams, and when she finally emerges in Bathwater for Sale, the film switches fully into the dream. From there on out, we're seeing something that never really happened in Bald Boy's childhood. Earlier, I mentioned that I didn't think Bald Boy actually died any of the times he was beheaded, and this is why. I believe that the fever dreams are Bald Boy's. What we see in each dream is him struggling to process a life of experiencing and inflicting trauma. During his childhood, Bald Boy was abandoned by his mother, abused by his father, and bullied by his friend Celescus. He did his best to process his trauma alone by secretly scribbling stars on the wall of his room. His grandmother, however, said that Bald Boy was just like his father, and without any positive or nurturing influence in his life to counter the claim, her attitude towards him turned him into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Eventually, he snapped and killed Celescus. For the first time in his life, Bald Boy wasn't the one being hurt. He was the one doing the hurting. I don't think the pale woman appeared to Bald Boy in reality. Instead, I believe that Bald Boy's life was relatively unchanged by his outburst. The greatest effect was that, for years after, he would occasionally dream about Celescus. He imagined her living an ordinary life with her grandmother, and he imagined her leaving it all behind to become a singer. He imagined himself, like a fusion of his father and the roaches of his childhood room, still by Celescus's side within the dream. More years passed, and Bald Boy grew up. He hated women. His mother had been the only good one, and she had abandoned him. But he thought they were fun, if used properly. To make himself more attractive to them, he started wearing a wig and put on a good tan. I'm not sure Bald Boy ever wanted kids, but then he met Angela. She quickly fell in love with the man Bald Boy pretended to be. All she seemed to want from life was to have a family, to be a mother. It didn't matter much to Bald Boy what she wanted, as long as she kept giving him what he wanted. So, he relented. They got married, had a daughter, and named her Alice. It might have been around this time that he bought some tapes that were oddly relevant to his childhood. They featured a woman who tried to comfort children who'd been hurt, just like he had. "You're not dead. You're just purple," she told them. Unfortunately, one aspect of the tape alienated David entirely. Whereas Purple Girl attempted to comfort the girls, she instead condemned the bald child who so nearly resembled David in his childhood. Any positive message was lost on David, and another emotion rose to the surface: admiration. Blue Boy's strength, assertiveness, and ability to take what he wanted were, to David, profoundly masculine. To be a man was to be blue. It wasn't long before David started filming everything, just like his father. But no, he wasn't just like his father. His father was a monster. He beat David until he bruised and bled just to turn a profit. But David loved Alice as much as he'd ever loved a woman since his mother left. To him, selling his tapes was unthinkable. They were his treasures, after all. Angela started to turn on David. She took issue with how he treated Alice, so she started keeping their daughter to herself, keeping her away from her father as if David was hurting her somehow. Didn't Angela know how much worse David's father had been? And even then, David's mother had never dared defy his father. Angela had betrayed him, and in doing so, she proved what David felt he'd known all along. Women didn't deserve his commitment. So he started to branch out. With each woman, he recycled the same tactics he'd used in the past to get Angela in his pocket. He used flattery, played the family man, and brought every woman the same necklace that Angela had been so thrilled with. That necklace became his mark, a way of claiming each woman as his property. Maybe it didn't work on everyone, but it worked often enough to meet David's growing needs. Everything nearly fell apart when Angela found out about Tiffany. She kicked him out of the house and divorced him, but that was fine. It had been a long time since he'd relied on her. What really hurt was losing Alice. Tiffany let David stay with her, but she was just a way to pass the time. After only a few months, David knew that Tiffany could never satisfy him. Neither could Linda or any other woman he could woo. Only Alice made David feel like a man. David called his old home phone number, but Angela didn't pick up. When he was sent to voicemail, he offered exactly what he knew Angela wanted: dinner as a family, a new beginning. He didn't think he could convince Angela to take him back, but all he needed was a few minutes with Alice once or twice a week. A reasonable request, he thought. When he finally got to the door, Angela denied him even that. Of course she would. This was exactly why David had left her in the first place. It didn't matter. David searched hungrily for Alice and did his best to ignore Angela's grating demands that he leave. He had learned as a child that this was what being a father was all about. Angela wouldn't stop him, couldn't stop him, just like David's mother had never stopped his father. Only when the knife slipped under his ribs did David realize what a good mother Angela was. In the last moments of his life, he wondered, how different would his life have turned out if he had had a mother like her? There is a lot of evidence to suggest that Bald Boy and David are the same person. During our first look at Bathwater for sale, I pointed out a present labeled Vida, an anagram for David, resting under the Christmas tree in Bald Boy's house. While at the time I thought this might only be an Easter egg, now I feel pretty confident that this is a present for Bald Boy, and his name was scrambled by product to avoid making the connection too clear. Everything we learn about David during Father further bolsters my confidence in this theory. His conduct in Mother's storyline suggests a history of significant abuse that radically altered his view of both men and women. To David, a man is supposed to be like his father, powerful and uncaring. A man is someone you don't stand up to, someone you don't fight back against. As an adult and a father, David tried to emulate these attributes by preying upon Alice, the person in his life who was least likely to fight back. Likewise, David's abuse severely damaged his ability to form healthy relationships with women. His mother's abandonment and Celescus's endless bullying taught him that women would always hurt you sooner or later. To protect his psyche, he began to see women as shallow, disposable objects. The fact that David specifically films his abuse is the clearest connection between himself and Bald Boy, because this is exactly the same behavior that we saw from Bald Boy's father. Some speculate that David is Bald Boy's father, not Bald Boy as an adult, but I think it's more likely that we're seeing David continuing the cycle of his abuse. We know David doesn't become like Bald Boy's dad in the future. He doesn't have a future. But likewise, I can't imagine that this was David in the past. They're just too different in appearance, and aside from the tapes, they're also very different in personality. Whereas Bald Boy's father was looming and silent, David is active and aggressive. David is superficially trying not to be like his father, but it's an act, a delusion, like Mother's. He may not share the same image as his father anymore, but he shares the same behavior. He doesn't want to end the cycle of abuse. He wants to enjoy it. The next step on the timeline provides even more evidence that David is connected to Bald Boy. The last thing David remembered was the sight of a strange, headless girl on his sofa. Perhaps that image reminded him of another girl from his childhood. She'd been nearly headless too, after David had smashed her skull in with a rock. After Mother stabbed him, David found himself someplace vast, white, and empty. Celescus was there, and she wanted to help. He didn't quite feel like himself. He reached up to the top of his head, and his fingers glided across a smooth scalp for the first time since his childhood. David looked down at himself and wiggled his toes within the bunny slippers on his feet. Here, in a dream world shaped by David's mind, he appeared as his own self-image, Creepy Man Boy. This episode highlights a crucial aspect of David's psychology. He doesn't see himself as an adult. This can be seen from his indeterminate age and even from the name Man Boy. I think the most important detail from the profile is his answer to the question, did your parents hit you growing up? David says that he's a full-grown adult who's still learning to grow up. I take this to mean that while David's body is grown, his mind is still trying to figure out how to move past childhood. He has the body and desires of a man, without the emotional marks of maturity such as empathy, responsibility, or the capacity for commitment. David struggled to grow up because he was so completely shattered as a child. The broken pieces which remained could not recover. They could only remember, relive, reenact, repent. I believe that in this dream, David wants forgiveness. Though, as morally confused as David is, to him, forgiveness really just equates to female approval. He wants to feel like his mother wouldn't hate the person he'd become. If he can find a date and finally commit, surely that would prove his atonement. Prove that he was a good man. Prove that he wasn't just like his father. Whatever hopes David had for the dream were destroyed by the presence of the headless woman, haunting him from the background of his mind. I already said that I believe this character represents Mother, unclothed because David never saw her as anything but an object, headless because her words and ideas were, to him, worthless. Angela stalked David, even in the dream. She was a reminder, a messenger, who, by her very presence, proclaimed, "You are beyond forgiveness." More painful than any turn of the knife was that Angela turned a camera on David, just as he did to Alice, and just as his father did to him. David descended into his own mind to escape from Mother's mechanical eye, and found himself in his childhood home, a version of it, at least. It was the night his whole life changed, the night he killed Celestis, the night his mother abandoned him. Bathwater for Sale is a descent from history into memory. The opening scenes of the film authentically represent David's childhood, but the longer you watch, the further the story strays from reality. In this dream, David is reconfronted with the horrors of his childhood, molded by the monstrous qualities of Bald Boy's perception. His home fills with darkness and roaches, and his father looms so tall, his scalp nearly scrapes the ceiling. Before David turns all his anger, hurt, and hatred onto Celestis, there's even an appearance of his hero, Blue Boy. This hero, however, fails to deliver David from his newest nightmare, the appearance of Angela as a pale, half-clothed woman. She is no longer headless, and no longer content simply to watch.
I want mommy. I want my cat. I want Romeo. I want mommy. Please.
There is no escape. The axe swings and David feels himself die again. But he opens his eyes and finds himself someplace new. He's alone on a bus, somewhere deep within himself, regressing into utter incoherence. David's story ends with the final fever dream, giving my turtle a haircut. Here, Celestis leads Bald Boy to his final confrontation with the pale barber I suspect to be Angela. David confides that he's scared to get his haircut, but Celestis tells him to sit like a grown-up. When Creepy Man Boy shows up, now having become green in accordance to his promise to Melancholy, Celestis encourages David not to go to him. This is the final, most pivotal decision we see David make. Does he go to Creepy Man Boy, or to the pale woman? Creepy Man Boy represents the person he's been all his life. He's one final chance for cowardice, one last opportunity to return to confusion and trauma. It's horrible, sure, but at least it's familiar. The haircut, on the other hand, represents something far, far more frightening to David. Growing up. It promises the uncertainty of adulthood. It promises responsibility. It promises guilt, punishment, and pain. He looks at Creepy Man Boy and considers going to him. Becoming that person again might mean being haunted by Mother's vengeful spirit for all eternity, being stalked or slaughtered over and over again. David goes in front of Mother, accepting his fate. It's the only way for Bald Boy to ever move past his trauma. Don't you wish you could stay a kid forever? Celestis asks him as he sits on the mattress. Yes, David replies. I'm scared. Don't be scared. You're going to be an adult soon. That only scared David more. You'll have to get a job, you'll have to pay bills, and you'll have to experience pain, she continues. David protests, saying that he isn't ready, but Celestis assures him that he never will be. No one ever is. Now sit like an adult and let her cut your hair. David turns to look up into the inhuman face of his once wife. He thinks about when they met, about their wedding, and about Alice. Even now, all he can feel is fear for himself. But he doesn't move. He turns back to Celestis.
Is it going to hurt?
Yes. It is going to hurt a lot.
David's dream is like a sort of purgatory. In the dreamscape, David relived the worst moments of his life and re-experienced his murder by Mother over and over again. That's right, David got hit with that Vento Aureo death loop. The loop continued until he finally accepted responsibility for everything he had done in life and grew up. Does that mean that David should be forgiven? I don't really think so. Does that mean that I forgive David? No. But I think that in the end, David finds some sense of forgiveness, and honestly, that might be even worse. I'm not sure if this purgatory is a real afterlife or an illusion from David's brain in the moments before he truly died, but that's the only way I know to reconcile Bald Boy's many beheadings without appealing to just straight-up cartoon logic. I personally can't come up with a more comprehensive and cohesive explanation than this, but I still have questions, and I'm sure I got some stuff wrong. So, let me be the first to point out some problems with my theory. First, for a few frames in Dirty Donna, Celestis appears on screen. She's young, alive, and well in 2012, so she couldn't have been childhood friends with David, who was killed in 2005. Knowing product, I struggle to think that this is just a meaningless Easter egg, but I also struggle to accept that all the parallels between David, Bald Boy, and Creepy Man Boy are just coincidental. Second, I'm not especially confident that the pale woman in Bathwater for Sale and Giving My Turtle a Haircut and the skeleton from Wasp Funeral are all symbols of Mother. If they all symbolize Mother, I wouldn't expect them to all look so different. Perhaps they're all meant to symbolize different stages of Mother's life, or different aspects of her personality, or perhaps they aren't symbols for Mother at all. Maybe my original assumption that Mother's storyline is the nucleus around which the world of product is formed is not a good assumption to make. Third, it doesn't sit entirely right with me to put David at the center of all of this. I mean, he's one of the most despicable characters on Product's channel, and it feels kinda gross to give him so much importance. I want to say the same thing about him that I did about Mother. Just because I may have, in some cases, painted him in a sympathetic light, that doesn't mean that I think David is a redeemable character in the slightest. My sympathies are reserved for Bald Boy, the scared kid who never had a choice about the horrors he endured. But all the pain in the world can't justify the horrible things he did later in life. My aspiration from the very beginning of this project was to put every film and every fever dream together in one narrative on one timeline. However, that might be a fundamentally misguided way of interpreting Product's work. It's possible that not every story takes place on the same timeline or in the same universe, but I gave my best shot at unifying everything. And you can too. This is a chart I've developed over the last 6 months as I've been working on this series. I included as many connections as I possibly could, and it's been a really valuable resource to me as I've been analyzing Product's channel. Now, I'm turning it over to you so that maybe you'll be able to use it to come up with theories I've never even considered. After all, Product Channel is still full of mysteries that I may never solve, and the mysteries keep piling up with every upload. I've written more about these videos now than I have written about any other horror series, and even so, I feel like I've only scratched the surface of Product's work. The fact that it's such an obviously personal project filled with references to real experiences makes it somewhat opaque for an outside explorer. Without really being a part of Product's life, I'm not sure any of us can ever answer every question and decode every secret. However, that's part of why I appreciate these videos so much. You can see so much of Product in these videos. The point isn't always the meaning hidden beneath it all. It's the raw experience of some corner of Product's mind. If these videos were any less strange or any more intelligible, it would come at the cost of there being less of Product in every video. But that's the very thing that makes these videos so unique, so grounded and disturbing. The blood in the bathwater proves it's real. I'd like to close by taking a stab at one last question. Why is this channel called Product? Every jar his father sold had a bit of Bald Boy inside it. Strangers bought, used, reused, and resold little pieces of his soul, and by the time they were done with him, there was very little of Bald Boy left for himself. The message was made clear every time Bald Boy looked at the shelf of Bathwater. Your pain is not your own. You exist for other people. Bald Boy was alienated from his family and his body. Every dignity, right, and hope was stolen from him. He had nothing, was nothing, but in that vast, unfathomable darkness was a single pinprick of light, a star, then another, and another. Tiny, distant, bright, pure. Bald Boy secretly scribbled stars on the wall where his father couldn't see. Crude, faint stars that said, "My hurt doesn't belong to those who harm me." You choose how to respond to your pain. You can make the choice Mother and David made, letting your trauma shape you. You can use it to justify hurting others and perpetuating the cycle of abuse. Or you can make the choice Donna made. You can accept your hurt and use it to make someone else's life better. To complete this analysis, there's something I need to show you. This is how Product makes their videos, and yes, this is all being done in CapCut. Up until Wasp Funeral, literally every step of the production, from scripting to recording to editing, was done exclusively on Product's smartphone. This process is like nothing I've ever seen. There's so much care and attention poured into every scene. Every single detail is squeezed out of an app that was never intended to be pushed so far. Product's channel proves the saying, necessity is the mother of invention. The best work emerges when a creator's vision transcends the apparent limits of their tools. The vision behind every video comes from an intensely personal place in Product's mind, and the result is something powerful. These stories have helped a lot of people process their own pains, to confront their own traumas, and make their own choice. Will you let your trauma control you, or will you reclaim your pain and scribble your own stars? Product's choice is made. I said before that this channel is a metaphorical shelf of bathwater. Every video is trauma in a jar. But I also think, to Product, this channel is like the corner of Bald Boy's room. The videos are the stars, scribbled somewhere secret, safe, and private. In doing so, Product has taken ownership of whatever injuries have inspired the horrors in these films. I don't know what trauma product has faced. The line between reality and fever dream is blurred, but the creator's message is crystal clear. I didn't choose to hurt, but I choose why I hurt. I choose what to do with it and where it goes. So, if anyone buys my hurt, it's because I sold it. Only I can choose to make my pain a product. I'm Cromudgeon. Thanks for watching.